Summarizing in your own words. Now, firstly, I strongly recommend that you download the following exam paper. It's a grade 12 exam paper, and it's the DBE May 2018 paper. I would like you to have that paper in front of you when we start with this lesson. So now you have the paper in front of you, and we are going to look at question 2. Question 2 of paper 1 is the question on the summary. You'll see that paper 1 is out of 70 marks, and the summary is out of 10. And it can be 10 very easy marks if you just know what to do, how to do it. Firstly, the requirements. It doesn't matter whether you're in grade 10, 11 or 12. The requirements are exactly the same. The outcomes are the same. The only difference is actually the length of the text. So in this case, it doesn't really matter because we have time and we're going to use this as an example. Now, the first requirement is that it must be written in paragraph form. I know you're going to have a point form summary somewhere along the line here, but remember that that's not the final summary. That is the penultimate stage of your summary writing, right? It must be in paragraph form. It must be 90 words, grade 10, 11, 12, 90 words. 7 relevant points. You don't need to write a title. Don't break your head about that. Don't write a title. When you add up your words, also just do your summary, add up the words in your summary. Don't bother about titles and whether you should add and so forth. No title, right? You are to give the key aspects only, but according to the instruction. You will never be asked just to summarize the passage. You will be asked to summarize a certain aspect of the passage, and they'll be clear about it. So you must make sure that when you get the points together, it must be only the relevant points according to the instruction. Right. So how do we then approach the summary? How do we go about it? Now, firstly, we read the passage, and as we read it, we underline. Now, what do we underline? We only underline what is relevant to the special instruction, right? We keep our purpose, in other words, to give an account of the special instruction, what is mentioned in the special instruction. We only want to do that. That's our purpose. So we underline only what is necessary. Audience is not really important. Sometimes in a summary, they say, write the summary as though you're writing it for a 5-year-old child. But you're not going to get that kind of instruction in the DBE papers ever. So don't worry about audience too much, but your purpose is very important, and you underline what is necessary. You're going to have to use full sentences, and they must be clear. They must be in your own words. Now, remember, please, that own words doesn't really mean that you cannot repeat any of the words in the text. That's not true. You can bring in some words, but you must eventually just write it in your own words. And also make use of synonyms, make use of different parts of speech to just change it slightly. So, don't stress too much about that. It must be in your own words, but all that means is you must not lift it straight from the text and put it there, because you will lose marks if you do that. So you must write accurate, clear, and please, simple. Keep it simple. Don't be too complicated in your sentences. Just keep it a simple sentence as far as you can write it in your own words, as long as the point comes across, right? Full sentences and you have to use linking words. You can't just put one point after the other and after the other and think now you've written a paragraph. You're going to have to link it somehow, right? If there are figurative expressions in the passage, please don't use those expressions in your summary. Those expressions probably just illustrate a point. Ask yourself, what is this point? And how does this image or expression enhance this point? And what is this point then eventually? So it's about the point, not about the figurative expression. Leave it out. Also, examples. Examples are just examples of a certain point. So you don't leave out the examples. They illustrate a point. Keep them out. Stick to the point, right? You stick to the key points that pertain to the instruction. Eventually, when you've finished, you must revise your summary for accuracy. By that I mean, have you stuck to the actual instruction or have you strayed? Are you giving points that are actually not relevant to the specific instruction? Is it accurate? Look at the length, right? The relevance of all the points. In other words, do a word count and then look at the relevance. Look at whether you've used suitable linking words. Just check it quickly, right? Remember, you don't have so much time for the summary in the exam, but you must just quickly check these things and you can make a few changes if you like. Just do it neatly. Don't bother to go and rewrite the whole thing, right? You must provide an accurate word count, please. An accurate word count means don't lie, right? If you've written 150 words, don't go and say that you wrote 90 words or 89 words. And it must be recorded in square brackets at the bottom of your summary. Those are the requirements for everybody. Now, let's look at the example that we have in front of us. What I've been going on about is the special instruction. In this case, summarize the reasons why we collect litter. Nothing else in the text matters. Those are the things that you need to take out. Only those things, right? Now, you usually start with the heading. You're not going to find a point there. But the heading and the subheading, very often there is a subheading, will give you a general idea of what you can expect when you read, right? Why collect litter? Can you see the reasons? Why collect litter? We are pulled to buy more stuff, and yet we are pushed to dump it. Hey, we want more things, and then people say, oh, don't hoard, don't clutter, just get rid of it. Get somebody in to help you. So, what is it with us? Why do we collect stuff? Now, the next thing to look at is your introductory paragraph. As I said, you don't have so much time, so take this as a tip, as a little rule of thumb, that usually, not always, but usually, you can scan it quickly, usually there is no point in the first paragraph. It's just a general introduction. And you'll see that in this case, the introduction is just a reiteration of what was said in the heading and subheading. Okay, households are currently bursting with stuff. Clothes seldom worn, books once read, and crockery or appliances never used. How did we get there? Drowning and stuff. There's still just a question, no answer, no reason. So the introductory paragraph is merely a repetition. So be careful. You probably won't find a point there. So when you go on to the next paragraph, you'll probably find the first of your number of points. Now, the next step is to go through every paragraph. I have only time to go through the first one. I'm going to ask you to do the rest by yourself, and I'm going to give you some indications of how to go about it. But every paragraph, the key points. This is an example of paragraph 1. The word, if I just look at this paragraph, the word due to, and because already catch my eye because they are words that introduce reasons, right? So the first thing is the blended families with partners arriving. And of course, what does a partner do? Brings along his baggage. Then they marry or cohabit, and they've set up their homes and they bring their stuff with them, right? All of that just there. And then also because they are perpetually encouraged to accumulate possessions. So two points that I can already find in the first paragraph is that when we cohabit, the partners bring their stuff. And now suddenly you have more stuff. And also you are perpetually encouraged by advertisements, for instance, to get more, to buy more, right? So to accumulate possessions. So I see 2 points here. Now you're going to keep doing that through every paragraph. Remember, only the aspects that have to do with the reasons why we collect, right? Eventually, you're going to come up with something like this, and you're going to make your point form summary just for yourself, right? Where you look at the point that you've underlined in the first paragraph, and you more or less put it in your own words in a little sentence. Easy, simple, but fluent sentence. You will remember that we've seen this point. Point number 1, newly blended families bring all their accumulated possessions into the new household. It's put in different words. It's not quite said the same way, but it's fine, right? And I would also recommend that you do a word count after every point. In this case, you'll end up with 11 words so that you can just add up eventually. Magazines encourage us to upgrade our homes, but we keep the replaced items. Now, you'll remember that we even saw an extra point in the first paragraph. You could have used that one because in the exam, it will always be the case that there will probably be about 9 points, of which they will ask you to have at least 7. If you have 7, it's fine. But there sometimes are other points also possible, so keep that in mind. But as long as they pertain to the instruction. Right, magazines encourage us to upgrade. That you'll find in the second paragraph. And here we have 13 words, right? Advertisements offer us kitchen cluttering devices. That's from another paragraph, and that was 5 words. In the fourth place, it is said in another paragraph that these unnecessary possessions make us feel anchored. It makes us feel anchored, and we believe that our possessions reflect our identity and our background. There you go. Another point. We attach ourselves to things and we cannot let go is another reason. As I said, 6 words there, 10 words there, 9 words there. Retailers coerce us into purchasing more things. 6 there. You'll find these points in the various paragraphs as you read it, right? We tend to be stopped by sentimentalism despite a trend to get rid of things. 15 there. So we've got, in fact, 8 points here. So look, it's fine. If you want to put 8 points into your summary in order just to feel safe, do so. And if you can do so within the word limit, please do so. Make sure that you have the 7 crucial points, add another one just for a little punch, and so that you can feel better about your summary. So now, when you add all the words up, you'll see that you end up with 75. You still have 15 more words. How are you going to use those words? Because make the most of what you have, right? So use them for linking words, for making it nice and fluent. So in the first place, for instance, blah, blah, blah. Use those, right? Now, this, what I've just shown you, is the summary, but it's the point form summary that we've just made, right? You're basically going to take all these points and just put them into a neatly flowing paragraph. Use your linking words, make it fluent, make it cohesive, and write a paragraph of your own. And use your own words, but don't stress too much. As far as possible, just don't lift from the passage, right? Now, before our next lesson, I'm going to ask you to write the paragraph. You can use your own points that you wrote down and then write your final paragraph. Doesn't need to be the same points as mine, or it can be said obviously in a totally different way. So write your own point form summary, and from that write your fluent summary. And then when you come back, I'm going to show you how the markers are going to go about giving you marks. I'm going to show you how easy it is really to get 10 out of 10 for your summary. Until then.